Hi there YouTube, it's Michael Gallacher here, the Media Preacher, back with another video, and today we're going old school, we're going back in time. We're going to try using an old analogue Tascam 424 Mark III 4-track tape machine to record a song. I have no idea how this is going to work out, and I haven't used this machine in years, so I'm really looking forward to finding out what we can do. So let's get on with the video. Thanks to everybody that has been subscribing and watching the videos. I haven't uploaded for a while because I only want to upload when I feel like I have something interesting to say or an interesting video to make. And I don't want to make videos for the sake of making videos, but I really appreciate all the support, the subscriptions, the views. I absolutely love the comments. Please leave me a comment in this video and I'll try and respond to you. Certainly these sort of gear type videos, I love hearing what people say, and sort of when they've, like on my Epiphone unboxing video, when people were commenting on them getting the guitar or them wanting to get the guitar, it really made the work of putting the video together really worthwhile. So thank you for everybody that's leaving comments, and please leave comments in the future. So on with today's video. Today we're going to be using this machine. This is how I started basically to record. I had a Tascam 4-track before this machine that was sort of this machine but a lot more basic. I think it had like 2 fader controls but 4 tracks that you could assign. I then bought this machine, which at the time I thought was like having a recording studio. We were recording to analog tape. I'm going to be recording today to a chrome tape. Recording on a chrome tape to these machines is really important, because if you record to a type 1 tape, a normal tape, then you get a lot more hiss. The chrome tapes do minimise the hiss. And these Tascam machines have Dolby noise reduction systems in them. So I've turned that on as well to try and reduce the hiss. And I've done a quick test recording as I was setting it up, and it seems to be working. I mean, this thing has been in storage really for many, many years at this point. I haven't really used this probably in, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years. So it's really great to see that it still works. I've cleaned the tape heads with some alcohol solution just to make sure that I'm getting the best signal to noise ratio and the best quality signal being put on the tape. But everything seems to be in order. The pots all work, all the EQs seem to work, the channels are all working. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to go back in time, because right now I'm so used to using Pro Tools. I've got an endless amount of tracks. I've got compressors and EQs. I've got virtual instruments to record with. I am completely spoiled, and it's been great fun using Pro Tools. And I can't see me stopping using Pro Tools in order to use this. But I thought it might be interesting to go back in time and to try and use this machine to see if I can now make a recording that sounds good on it and that sounds acceptable. I mean, some of the best recordings I did using this system were basic recordings, because it really lends itself to a guitar, a vocal, maybe an overdub of another guitar, an overdub maybe of a piano. If you can do that, you've got 4 tracks, and you're using those tracks, and you can get nice quality recordings out of it, or I certainly thought I could. How those recordings compare to what I record now remains to be seen. But I'm quite interested to see if the lessons that I've learned using Pro Tools and using EQs properly and compressors properly and microphone placement properly, if those lessons actually translate to this machine so that I'm able to get a reasonably good recording. I'm not expecting miracles out of this machine, but if I can get a reasonably good demo sort of guitar and vocal recording, then I'll be really, really happy. So what I've started to do is I've put a click track onto track 3 of the machine, so that I'm going to be following the click track so that anything I record is in time. And that's really, really important, because if this bass recording goes well, I might import it into Pro Tools and then build a bigger recording out of it. We'll see. I don't want to run before I can walk. We'll see how we get on. But in this part of the video, I just would like to produce a demo of a song, guitar and vocal basically, maybe some keys, maybe an electric guitar, maybe some basic percussion by bouncing some tracks down. But I just want to see how good I can get the recording. I'm running the machine at high speed. So there's high speed and normal speed. The faster the tape runs past the heads, the better quality the recording is. So I'm running it at high speed, and I've set my pitch control here right up to maximum. Because again, that means that the tape is traveling past the heads more quickly, which theoretically should give me a better quality recording. What I can't do is use condenser microphones. I'm spoiled. I'm used to using condenser microphones that capture the sound really nicely. But I can't use them with this machine because they require phantom power, and I don't have phantom power on this machine. I did used to have a little like preamp that had phantom power on it, but I don't have that anymore. So I'm going to use some old standards. This is the SM58 microphone. I'm going to use that for the vocals and some of the guitar bleed, because I'm going to play the guitar at the same time that I'm doing the vocals. And this is the very first microphone I ever bought, if you can see it in camera there. This is the Shure SM10A. It's a pretty cheap microphone, and when I used to originally use this machine, I would use this microphone for my vocals, and I would plug my acoustic guitar into the machine, which effectively gave me two microphones, because this was originally the only microphone that I had. So I'm slightly spoiled now, because I now have two dynamic microphones, and a couple of condenser microphones, and a ribbon microphone. But as I say, I can't use those really nice microphones. But this SM58 is a fantastic microphone, and it should record the vocals really, really well. And it'll also pick up quite a lot of the guitar spill, I think. So without further ado, I'm going to try and record a guitar and vocal part of a song to a click track that I've already recorded from a metronome onto the tape. So wish me luck. Let's see how it goes. Okay, YouTube, well, here I am. I've had my first problem in that the chrome tape I was talking about actually jammed in the machine. So that's the first problem. Analog tape, it's difficult to work with. It jams. You can't edit it in the same way you can with a Pro Tools session. So I've had to go to a Type 1 tape because I don't have a second chrome tape. I'm going to have to get some more if this becomes a thing. So there might be a bit more hiss on the recording than I was originally anticipating. But c'est la vie, that's where we are. So I've got the guitar, I've tuned it up, I have put the metronome track onto the Type 1 tape. I'm taking this microphone, this Shure microphone here, and I'm putting it around the 12th fret. That's the idea. As close as possible. I want some room sound as well. I'm hoping that there'll be some bleed between the microphones. Using these old headphones that I used to use all the time. So I'm really using a lot of the equipment that I used to use here. I'm not cheating too much. But one of the main disadvantages of using the Tascam over using Pro Tools, for instance, or any of the recording softwares, is that I realised I don't actually have any reverb because everything was so dry. It was just a basic track. So I don't have any outboard gear to put into it. So what I've done is I've taken my reverb pedal from my guitar and I have put that into the microphone. So the microphone goes out of the microphone into my guitar reverb pedal, and then that goes into track 1 of the machine. And so track 1 of the machine will have some reverb on it, but I can't really control the reverb later, so I'm not putting too much, just a bit, to give it a little bit of space, because the reverb's being printed onto the tape. And of course, what I can't do later is mess with it in the mix. So I'm sort of having to commit. This machine's making me commit an awful lot. So I'm going to go and have a go and have a take, and I'll see you in about 3 minutes. So here's the now listen to that. That's what I'm talking about. You don't get that with Pro Tools. There is a click and a clunk when you press the buttons, and you can see the mechanism working, and that's a really great thing. So at the minute I've got negatives of working with it are the tapes are quite fragile, they can jam, I'm getting tape hiss that I wouldn't normally hear. But touch point of view, oh, this is fantastic. I'm touching the buttons and you hear it clunk into action, and I can see the mechanism working, and that's quite a lot of fun, and that's quite exciting. So anyway, I'm going to do a take. I'm getting a signal, I can hear myself in my headphones, so that's good. I'm going to go into record mode on track 1 and 2. sunset slow. No, I'm not happy with that. I'm gonna go again. Lost it. Not hearing it brilliantly well, which is a problem. Well, that was a take. Let's hear it back. Take one. That's the thing about this machine. You can't edit, in the same way that you can with. It's just the take is. You have to be a good musician. If you're not a good musician, this is a really, really difficult machine to use. So yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, my first thoughts on that are that I'm getting a lot of hiss that I'm not used to hearing, which is not great. But you have to be able to perform the song with this thing because you can't. There isn't a facility to punch in, but I'm getting so much bleed between the microphones that really wouldn't work. I can't punch in here. This is a one-take deal. You have to get the take that you want to use, and that was take 1.5. I had a sort of a false start, but then yeah, it seemed to work well. So what I'm going to try and do now, I think, is I'm going to try and do some percussion on track 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record shakers onto track 3, bounce track 3 onto track 4, and play tambourine while the shakers are playing back. And then I'm going to put piano onto track 3. So I will have track 1 vocal, track 2 acoustic guitar, both first generation. Track 3 will be a piano first generation, and track 4 will be a bounce down of the shakers and a first generation print of the tambourine. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to do this now. The other thing, of course, unlike Pro Tools, where I could now just pick up the tambourine and start shaking, I have to wait for the machine to rewind the tape. But it's definitely slowing the process down. It's not as easy to use as Pro Tools. But I guess that's why we are 20 years later. The other thing I have to be really careful of using this is it's so easy to wipe the recording that you've just done. So I've just recorded onto track 1 and 2. Now if I don't put those tracks into safe mode, when I go to record onto track 3, it will record over what I've done, and unlike a digital audio workstation, there's no way for me to retrieve that. If I wipe it, it's gone, it's done. So I have to make sure that I'm really careful with and put into safe mode the tracks that I want to keep, because it's so easy to record over a good take, which is something that used to happen to me all the time, and I've only just remembered it. And I'm sort of learning that from trial and error, I suppose. Sounds much better on track 3, doesn't it? So, there we go. I think that is kind of about as good as I can do at the moment. It's a shame I didn't get to use the chrome tape. That is gutting, because I think the quality of the recording would have been a bit better with the chrome tape. With the normal tape, there is a certain amount of hiss on the recording, and it's certainly not Pro Tools. It's definitely not Pro Tools. And at the start of the video, I said I wanted to put some electric guitars potentially on the track and various other bits and bobs, and I ran out of room on the tape. I didn't want to bounce down, because when I tried to bounce the percussion down, the shaker into the tambourine, didn't really work because I couldn't get the levels right. I couldn't hear the shaker anymore, or I could hear the tambourine and it was too loud. It just wasn't bouncing down brilliantly well. That might have worked better perhaps with more defined instruments, I don't know. So what we ended up with was vocal on track 1 with some guitar bleed, acoustic guitar on track 2, track 3 had the shaker, and track 4 ended up being the piano track. And I'm going to try and mix it down and create some width by putting the piano on one side and the guitar on the other, and sort of the shaker and the vocal in the middle, which should give me some width. Now I'm just gone to try and mix it down, and I've come across a lot more limitations, because of course I'm used to having a compressor to control the dynamics of different instruments. I'm used to being able to automate things so I can have the vocal come up and then dip in and dip out. Whereas this is just static. It is where it is. You have to set the levels and they are what they are. I haven't got a compressor controlling anything. And really importantly, I haven't got an EQ controlling anything. I need an EQ to try and dip in the different frequencies. So I need the guitar and the piano ordinarily to be separated using an EQ, so that when I fold the mix down into mono, I can really hear the difference between the guitar and the piano. Whereas on the mix I'm able to do on this, it's a very just level mix where things get missed. And that actually would make it very hard to record something like a bass guitar, because a bass guitar is such a dynamic instrument. Without some quite heavy compression on it to really maintain it and control it, it becomes very, very difficult to control and hear. Because on the bass guitar I would normally compress the very low end, the mid, and then the high end as well with some distortion. So I'd normally be using, at least 4 tracks on the bass guitar on its own. On this I've got 4 tracks total. So what I'm going to play for you now is my mix. It's been fun doing it, but I have to say technology has moved on and a Pro Tools setup really doesn't compare. But it is fun recording onto tape, and I think there is a sound, there is a warmth coming from this tape that I don't get from Pro Tools. So leave me some comments, let me know your experiences of dealing with the Tascam tape machines, or with 4-track or 8-track recording. I might do a follow-up video to this. If people enjoy the video, let me know, where I expand on the track count. So I might bounce all 4 of these tracks into Pro Tools and then rebounce them, say, onto track 4 of this machine. So then that gives me track 1, 2 and 3 to play with again, so I can add effectively 7 tracks. So I've got a 7-track mix. I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia over these tape machines. They actually go for quite a good price on eBay. And part of that is the nostalgia of working on tape, and young musicians love the idea of working on tape. But actually it's a lot of work, and because you have to make sure that the tape heads are clean, the pinch rollers are all working properly, the tapes can jam up, as I found out to my detriment a bit earlier. There's a certain amount of tape hiss that you cannot avoid with these tapes, unfortunately. They're not like recording onto a digital medium. You've got very limited control over the EQ section. I'm going to take out some of the extreme lows, which should make this mix a little bit more defined. But when I try and boost any highs, I of course boost that tape hiss, which is going to cause a problem. So there are serious limitations. What it does make you do is make decisions very early on, because I was very limited in what I could actually record on this. And when you hear about artists like Springsteen and McCartney recording at home on 4-track machines back in the day, they recorded the basic tracks on 4-track machines. But you have to remember that those basic tracks were then taken to professional studios, where they would have been subject to proper mixing with compressors and with proper reverbs and with proper EQs. Which is where my idea actually for the continuation of this video is coming into play. I'm thinking what I do is I record the basic tracks onto tape, and then I take those basic tracks and I put them into a Pro Tools session and I mix them in Pro Tools. So I've recorded the basic tracks on analog, but then I've mixed it in the digital realm on Pro Tools, being able to use all of the compression and all of the modern tools that are available. But you've got the benefit of having the original input onto an analog source. And I'll be really interested to hear how that mix sounds. So I think that's going to be part 2 of the video. But for right now, here is the mix as it stands. This is a basic cassette 4-track mix. I have done as much as I can with the EQ on the system, but I am limited to some degree by the fact that there really isn't much of a mixer on this. It records the tracks onto tape, and then the mixing element is very limited. And I've had to cheat by putting some reverb from a guitar pedal and things that probably shouldn't really be done, but that actually works, and that's a good idea. So anybody that's using one of these machines, if you want to put some reverb on, because they sound extremely dry without reverb, is get your guitar reverb pedal and plug your microphone into that, and that will give you some space. Don't overdo it though, because you can't mix it later. You are printing the amount of reverb that is on that machine right there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you again. Here's the song.
encourage the ember, ignite the flame. Without a prisoner's touch, this would have laid to waste. And I buy you flowers each month till I reach the grave, and I'll go to sleep each night in the home we made. Stand before me with that blue dress on, you turn 30 in some sun. Rome's a far land from where we begun. You turn 30 in some sun. Sitting in the piazza, but the sun sets slow, drinking wine with pasta around the rooms of old. And I carry the cases, if you take a load, going into the sunset, and so it goes. Stand before me with that blue dress on, you turn 30 in some sun. Rome's a far land from where we begun. You turn 30 in some sun. But lovers have power, you can't steal enough time. Face the senses and heal the signs. So trust your instincts and follow the light. Hear the music and be mine. Stand before me with that blue dress on, you turn 30 in some sun. Rome's a far land from where we begun. You turn 30